Lots of comments on the issue of mental health because we're tying in today's practice with Mental Health Awareness Week. Actually, very topical given that mental health issues so high profile at the moment. We think about the Jeremy Kyle show, which has been axed because a participant died a week after the programme was filmed, and that really has called into question those sort of programmes, I guess, which do pose problems for people who are mentally fragile. Lots of people getting in touch, as I say, this afternoon. One texter says, we are born into this world and have to cope with all situations. Otherwise, we need a product or person to lean on, which is not what being alive is all about. From experience, this texter says, if we provide a service, we will clearly create a need for it. Interesting point of view there, Mike.
Yes, well, I agree with being able to stand on your own 2 feet, which is kind of the practice we do. Because, life is hard. As long as you have it, it's difficult. And so the best thing we can do is learn how to be with it, work through it. Sometimes that's professional help, sometimes that's medication. And sometimes that's just the intuition that, I can do this. I can learn how to sit with my own mind. And we're not really taught about the mind. If you say to someone, do you know about the mind? They'll say, oh yeah, like a psychology textbook. No. Your mind, your real-time mind, your thoughts, your inner dramas, your inner critic that we all have. There's very little. We're not very literate about that, And the more you get to observe and know how your own mind works, the less you're just going to be dragged blindly into it.
Kind of ties in with another person who's texted in to say it seems strange that mental health issues appear to be on the rise despite more people meditating and practicing things like mindfulness. And I wonder if there's any sort of reason for that. Obviously, we don't have any definite figures about now compared with years ago, but it's an interesting thought.
I think that's kind of true, and I think that there's a couple of reasons for that. I think our culture is just not in a great state. Social media and things like that. It's all tied up with poor mental health. I think the mental health report for a few years ago said that only 13% of people in the UK reported positive mental health. 13. So the report says that's chronic. That's extremely disturbing, which it is. Because this isn't Syria. This is not. We don't live hand to mouth. We're not in a war zone. Look out the window. We live here. Yet we are chronically unhappy as a culture. So I do think the culture's broken. Hence the poor mental health. The flip side to that, the kind of positive reaction, is more and more people engaging with practices like mindfulness, yoga, other kinds of meditation, and realizing that there's so much we can do ourselves and with the kind of, support of our community, especially around people that have sat through what you're going through and they didn't take medication. They just learned how to kind of manage their own minds or bodies or emotions. So, we've been doing this since we were cavemen and cavewomen. It's not new.
I think as well it links in, everything you're talking about links in with a theme as well for this year's Mental Health Awareness Week, which is body image, which again, that to me all sort of links in with that idea of social media and how there are those additional pressures. And a lot of these, especially young people that struggle with mental health issues, so many of it is, so much of it is directly linked to social media, isn't it, and the idea of body image.
Yeah, again, it's a cultural thing. One of the nice things about the mindfulness practice is, many of which are body-based, is that we're putting down our thoughts, we're putting down our ideas, our preferences about how should the body be, how should my body be, my body is painful, etc. These ideas we carry. And we're kind of just dropping into the raw flow of sensations without the image, without the story. And often what people realise is, my body doesn't mind. Like my head minds. My head's the one with the problem. This shouldn't be like this. When I drop down into the sensations in my hands or my knees or my legs or my feet, there's just a flow of sensation. It doesn't mind. It's okay. So that's where you start finding this kind of groundedness and this wholeness, is that the trouble really is from the neck up. It's from this thinking mind. Once you put that down, you realise that the body can be a place of immense wholeness and stillness, and it can feel like a very homely place to be.
I'm guessing you're not going to have a definite answer to this question, but if somebody is new to the art of being mindful, how long will it take them to find this groundedness that you talk of?
Well, okay, good question. I mean, it's there all the time anyway. It's just the practice of beginning to recognise that. So I would ask that person, whoever that person is, how long are you practicing every day? What is the practice you are doing? and who are you doing it with, or what resources are you using? Is it an app? Is it off YouTube? Is it someone in person? Often, if it's someone in person, they are already living from that grounded place because it's become part of their normal. So when you sit with someone like that, you tend to shift into that place with them. That's the effect. So they're the questions. How much are you doing? So if someone says to me, "Oh yeah, I've been, Mike, I've been looking at mindfulness and it's just not working. It's just not working." First question: how many minutes a day are you putting into it? That's the first question. And if they say it's not working, generally I think the answer would have to be, I'm not doing any minutes. Because once you start putting the practice time in, things start to change.